Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is obviously like mega catnip. If you cross catnip with crack, that's what Twitter is. A catnip crack. So like any tiny little thing of Twitter is like front page news. You know, we have like some mid-level person left Twitter front page news. Like what the, it was ridiculous. So uh, you know, so it's going to get like outsized attention. But it's not like there's just literally, if I think like, is there anything that I could have done in the past like few months that would have helped with Tesla's execution? I literally can't think of anything.
Right.
So, and there was not a single important meeting that I missed. It's we're making great progress on future product development, and it's really just like I think there's going to be some macro drama that's higher than people currently think, or higher than most people think, and it's hard to predict exactly. Economic prognostication is fraught with difficulty, but if we do have another 2009 situation, that's the stock prices of everything is going to be lower, and then I think it's arguable that stock prices of anything that's bought with debt will like not a staple, like it's sort of it's like buying sort of food at the grocery store, people will still buy that, but things that are bought with debt, like basically housing and cars are going to be the two biggest,
Right.
Are really going to just get disproportionately impacted. But then it's sort of but if you say, like, that's why I was trying to emphasize, like, but from a long-term standpoint, like there's a natural economic cycle that happens, and frankly, we're overdue for a recession. It's like shocking that we haven't had like a serious recession since, recession in any meaningful sense of the word, since 2009. That's like 13 years. Like, wow. So this is like it just economic cycles are just the way the economy works. Like you have up and down cycles, and it's just the way things go. So we're somewhat overdue for that. I mean, I was talking to Brett Johnson, who's the CFO of SpaceX, and he was telling me about when he was at Broadcom in 2000. And Broadcom was Broadcom's a good company making good products. It's not like Pets.com. So and I was like, yeah, it's pretty wild how when there's when there's panic in the stock market, like how much even high quality company stocks can drop. And he was like, yeah, when he was at Broadcom, the stock dropped 97%. I was like, wow, that's a lot. That subsequently recovered to, I think, above its previous all-time high. But when there's extreme panic in the markets, like things can go to like ridiculous levels. I'm not saying that they will, but this is a thing that has happened in the past. That's why I've been very much encouraging people to avoid buying stock on margin, and just avoid margin debt, because you just don't know if there's going to be some panicky situation in the stock market.
Well, we got the panicky situation in the stock market before we got the recession, it seems. But it seems like the market is clearly pricing in what you're talking about, and I don't disagree with your viewpoint on Jerome Powell, and I would love to get him on a Twitter Spaces, to be honest.
Yeah.
Cool. But I also think that Tesla has a certain level of recession proofness, because buying a Tesla does cut your cost of living from an ICE vehicle. And I also think, and maybe you can confirm this, that your margins are probably increasing now that the supply chain issues and a lot of the commodity prices are decreasing, which can allow Tesla to lower prices to continue to sell more cars without hurting margins.
So I think Tesla will weather what I think is an upcoming economic storm maybe better than than any company.
For sure.
But apart from like like I said, if a company's like making like bread or something, they'll probably be they're like relatively recession proof. But compared to any company making large complex manufactured objects that are bought with debt, Tesla I think will do relatively better than anyone. But that doesn't. It's sort of like if you're a ship in the storm, even if you have a really great ship, you're still going to get bashed by the storm. So
Yeah.
And there is with respect to cost structure somewhat of a lag effect, where the supply chain takes there's latency in the supply chain, so the supply chain will take a bit longer to reduce costs than we'd like, because there's, I don't know, called 6 months of latency in the supply chain.
Right. So
Elon,
like
on the supply chain side, Elon, just a question. I'm a lithium investor myself, and I know you've made many comments on lithium refining and processing in the last few months. What's been your, I guess, anecdotal view from Tesla's perspective into the end of this year on battery metals prices, and do you have a view on battery metals prices for next year as well, and any kind of commentary on how that's affected you, or any kind of strategy that Tesla's implementing to stay ahead of the battery metal pricing curve, if you will?
Yeah. So, again, I keep emphasizing like all these things need to be taken with a grain of salt, because I don't have like some.
Of course, yeah, I understand we're asking you to speculate.
Yeah, it's like if I had a perfect crystal ball, that'd be great, but I don't. The price of battery grade lithium is obviously insane, and it's constrained primarily at the lithium refining level, much more so than at the mining level. And that's why Tesla's building a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi. So is really to get out away from that choke point of, or diminish the lithium refining choke point. Like lithium is extremely common. It's everywhere, basically. It's not like oil. Like oil is much more localized and rarer than lithium. Lithium is basically everywhere.
Elon, on that facility you guys are looking to erect in Corpus, I've done a lot of work on lithium refining and processing, and I mean, typically those facilities, even with optimal CapEx, are taking a minimum of 7 years to get to maximum. So, are you guys looking at a shorter timeline? Have you guys kind of broken that mold?
Yeah, I mean, 7 years is insane. No, I mean at least maybe we're deluded, but we're aiming to be have meaningful volume out of that refinery in like 2 years.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's wildly impressive. And then you guys, I'm sure you guys will make way on that. And is that the only project you guys have considered so far, or is there? And I know a lot of this is speculation, but just curious.
Well, we're also doing the cathode refining, but that's like pretty obvious, because it's like there's a giant building on the other side of the Giga Texas factory. That giant building is the cathode refinery that we've been building. So,
Awesome.
And that's obviously for nickel-based cathodes. So we're like, I think, taking the steps that are necessary to enable, very high volume output of vehicles, electric vehicles, and stationary battery packs, and to reduce our dependence on the supply chain. So, like, I think we're making the smart strategic moves here. But as far as like, I think depending on like what happens with total automotive demand, or especially electric vehicle demand next year, especially in China, where they make the most number of EVs, I think we probably see some reduction in the cost of battery materials. Yeah.
Elon, you mentioned earlier on the asset price conundrum, when it comes to cars and autos and homes, the same applies to companies, right? If you think about Charter, for example, it has an earnings yield of 10%, but it has a debt yield of 7%. It used to be 4%. So corporate buybacks are less attractive in this environment. Would you agree that it makes more sense to reinvest in Tesla than it does to buy back stock?
Well, I mean, we're actually, I'd say, we're applying capital at pretty close to the fastest rate that we can spend capital and not be wasteful. So we're not like saying, oh, let's like not spend money on important long-term projects. Like I just mentioned, like the lithium refinery and the cathode refinery, which are important for long-term, high growth. So we are making these investments, and we, I can't sort of say too much about this, but we are close to picking location for another gigafactory. But we want to be sort of careful and deliberate about that. So there's a lot of good things that are happening. But like I think the smart move is to take is like we're coming into this like recession. I think in a very strong position. Like we don't have any debt. We've got on the order of $20 billion of cash and cash equivalents, and that's a pretty great position to be going into stormy waters with. But like I think we want to make sure that like let's just see like how stormy are these waters, and are we talking about a mild recession, moderate recession, severe recession? We don't know yet. So I think it's not like we just want to keep our powder dry and see what kind of economic environment are we going to see in 2023. The board is very open to doing a buyback, but I think it's like we just want to. It wouldn't be smart to do a buyback and then discover that the recession is like, I don't know, for argument's sake, worse than 2009. And I'm like, that was foolish to have used up cash reserves for a buyback in the face of a severe recession. So we just need to kind of see what is the nature of the recession, and then if it's looking like, hey, we're doing okay from a cash standpoint, and the stock price is like absurdly low, then at least my vote on the board would be to sort of do a buyback. But that's that's subject to the rest of the board's opinion as well. But my vote would be to do a buyback if once we are able to properly calibrate the scale of the recession, and just make sure that Tesla is healthy and we're not spending cash reserves and putting the company at risk. That would be my concern.
On
For
the
people like
Twitter
me who love
X Tesla, yeah.
sorry,
You want to go first? I'm popping after you.
Yeah, I mean, for people like me who love Tesla and love the products, it's just, I'm really glad that Tesla got profitable when it did. Because if it had to go through this storm when it was sort of where it was in 2018 or 2019, I mean, it might not have made it through it.
Yeah.
So it's,
100%.
really to tremendous credit of the management that we've gotten to this place where we're profitable and we don't have to worry about Tesla going under with this storm. You have the startups like Rivian and Lucid who are just burning cash like crazy.
Yeah.
Terrible situation for them. The legacy automakers, they're not in a great situation.
Correct.
Tesla's launching FSD beta. They're doing pretty well overall. They're in a better position than pretty much any of their peers. And that's, I think, a huge credit to you and the rest of the Tesla team.
Let me tell you, the Tesla team is kicking ass. And like, honestly, to use an anachronistic analogy, Tesla is firing on all cylinders. So it's the actual, execution of the company is I think outstanding. The team's doing a kick-ass job. So it's like just, I guess like Warren, what's that? Warren Buffett's got a lot of great sayings, but the, because this is the sort of thing where I suspect Warren Buffett's going to be buying a lot of stock next year, because if a company has like very strong fundamentals, but then the market is doing some short-term panic situation, obviously that's the right time to buy stock. Like I stand by my prediction that Tesla will be the most valuable company in the world. I'm actually pretty confident that will be the case, but I just can't predict with accuracy the stock price between now and then.
On
You
the Twitter
a
X
little bit
Tesla
before,
crossover that's
or
happening
go
there,
for
I
it.
think when you
Sorry,
were
one at a time,
looking,
please.
oh yeah, sorry about that. Stock, do you mind if I go?
Yeah,
Appreciate
go
it.
for it. Sorry.
Go.
Yeah. On the Twitter X Tesla crossover, and we're all power users of Twitter. Stock Market
Yeah.
News, Stock Talk, and I have been using it for years. We've been hosting like 40 hours of spaces a week. There was a lot of hope that when the acquisition happened, that this could be a real synergy for Tesla, right? Who notoriously doesn't spend money on marketing and now has access to this incredible community. But of course, there's been work that has to go into Twitter. There's been a lot of restructuring there. Are there active synergies that you see or ways that you see these crossing over in the coming months or years to really supplement each other?
Well, I mean, Twitter. I and Tesla have long used Twitter, frankly, for free to advertise Tesla. So like my account and the Tesla account have been incredibly effective in building awareness of Tesla and actually driving demand. So I think there probably are some synergies there, where Twitter can be helpful, perhaps even more helpful to Tesla. It certainly has, yeah. So,
Hey, Elon, is there a way to connect our Tesla profiles to our Twitter profiles and get it in the car?
yeah, yeah, I think we could.
Yeah, I think Twitter
Yeah.
should be like the social graph of Tesla. Like, I want to go in my
Yes.
nav system and say, okay, I want to meet up with Ross. So, like, navigate us to this restaurant. We can see each other's location, that kind of
And
thing.
I could see all the other Tesla owners driving around me that want their visibility shared, and we could communicate through Twitter as the app.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, it would kind of make sense to have a Twitter app on Tesla. Yeah.
Yeah, we could listen to Spaces while we're supercharging. I was just supercharging actually like a half an hour ago, and you just sit there. It's like perfect.
I mean, Elon,
Yeah.
Tesla is the biggest source of your wealth. When it comes to Twitter, I mean, these ideas are all great. These ideas are great. But does it make sense to have someone like, David Sachs come in and help you manage Twitter? And are there like 3 candidates that you think would be really interesting to support you so that through this recession, the focus can be more on Tesla?
The focus will, let me be clear, the focus will absolutely be, I mean, Tesla just fundamentally is a far more complex beast than Twitter. So the things that are necessary to operate Twitter are just are far fewer. It's a subset of Tesla complexity. Obviously, like Twitter is like it's got there's it's servers and software and phone apps and stuff, and it's it's at scale and stuff, but it is obviously it's the complexity is more than an order of magnitude lower than Tesla. So my attention will be primarily on Tesla, and I think I can still improve the Twitter product because I use it a lot. So in terms of guiding the product to become better and better, that's like kind of a natural thing since I have been using Twitter actively for since 2009. It's it's basically not that hard to know what things need to improve and then give that direction to the team and have it get it done. So yeah, it's I'm not trivializing Twitter, but it's just objectively it's like about 10% of the complexity of Tesla. So
Music to our ears. A lot of investors are so happy to hear you say that. And I think it helps a
Yes.
lot you coming on this space and talking to people.
Elon, I just want to ask you briefly about Tesla
Super
Energy
appreciate it.
and
Super
the
appreciate it.
launch of Tesla electricity in Texas. I'm a Texas resident as well, so I think that's a pretty exciting additional vertical, maybe for Tesla from the utility perspective. If you just wanted to comment briefly on Tesla electricity and that starting up and your guys' outlook for Tesla electricity going forward, I think that'd be great to comment on.
Sure. Well, I mean, the overarching purpose of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. And there's like just really three pillars to sustainable energy, which is sustainable energy generation, primarily through wind and solar, and then storage of that energy, stationary battery packs, because of the intermittency of wind and solar, and then electric transport. And those are the three core pillars for a sustainable energy future. And we're working on all three. So, and I'd say like the demand for large stationary battery packs, especially at the utility level, but also at the consumer level with Powerwall, is like quasi infinite. Like meaning like it's assuming the economics are compelling to utilities for and so like as long as like say a Tesla battery pack is cheaper, all things considered, than say a natural gas peaker plant, the demand is like gigantic.
And nobody's valuing that, are they? They're putting a value of 0 on it.
I don't know, but I wouldn't put a value of 0 on it. It is like, I mean, I've said before, we really want to be doing, 1,000 plus gigawatt hours a year of battery packs, combined stationary and vehicle, and if not 2,000. So, it's big numbers. At some point, like I do eventually need to do this like Master Plan Part 3. The Master Plan Part 3 is just about scale, and just like people, just like one shouldn't even think of things in terms of like dollars. You need to think of things in terms of tonnage, like what tonnage of battery pack is needed. Like the fundamental rate limiter for humanity becoming self-sustaining from an energy standpoint is how many gigawatt hours per year of battery pack can you make? That fundamentally sets the rate at which humanity can transition to sustainable energy. Is how many batteries can you make per year? At the ton, what's the tonnage? Well, in storage terms, how many thousands of gigawatt hours per year can humanity make? That's the faster that ramps, the faster one can get to a sustainable future. And our rough back of the envelope for transitioning civilization to a fully sustainable energy economy is around 300 terawatt hours of installed capacity ish. I mean, other people may come up with different numbers, but it's not an order of magnitude higher than that, and it's not an order of magnitude lower than that. So
we'll go to Monative next. Monative, I'm sure, is a great question. Monative, you've had your hand up for a while, and then we'll go to Earl as well, who's had his hand up. Monative, what's up?
Thanks, Talk. Hey, Elon, want to take you back a little bit to the comment you made about Fed being behind the curve and over tightening. So I've been living in the Valley here for close to 25 plus years now. So been through the thick and thin in the Valley. So certainly it looks like we are heading to a tech jobs recession, if nothing else, and probably a white collar jobs recession, and certainly a significant pullback in tech. Do you think that data is going to cause further contagion from top down at the highest income levels? And is the Fed going to see that and take that into account? Because clearly the overall jobs market is fine at the lower level, but certainly there's a lot of weakness at the higher level.
Um, sorry, you blanked out there for a second. Can you repeat the question?
Sorry about that. So I was just saying, to your earlier point about the Fed being behind the curve,
Yeah.
we're not seeing, real jobs problem at the highest level within tech. The high paying jobs are being lost at a furious pace. But overall job market seems to be fine because of the lower end jobs. Do you think the Fed is going to take that level of nuance into account before they go too far?
Look, I don't know what my insight into the Fed's decision making is zero. So I don't know, I don't know anyone on any of the people on the Fed board. I'm not sure I've ever even spoken to them, so I don't know what the Fed's going to do. I've been surprised by the rate increases, and like I said, I think they're looking at like data in a kind of a legacy way with that where the data's got a lot of latency, more like and so then they're just making decisions with data that's really stale and not reflective of the current situation. So that just means their reaction will be delayed. So they're raising rates more than they should, and then they'll probably take longer to lower the rates than they should. That's based on the past track record.
That makes perfect sense with structural unemployment. I mean, there are a million jobs without open immigration that we can't just make out of, we can't fill out of thin air. So I tend to agree with you that this tightening could last longer. And Musk, you're not the only one. I mean, they're the top hedge fund managers in the world. I mean, Tepper was on TV this morning. I've never seen the guy this depressed in the last 20 years.
Wow.
So, he was the one in 2010 that was saying, hey, QE1, he went all in and, built a $20 billion organization. But, even the best fund managers, prognosticators, no one has any idea on how this is going to play out. So all we can do is, have our scenarios and play out various cases and manage risk for the best.
Yeah.
Earl, you're up.
Hey, thank you. Hello, Elon. Longtime shareholder, first-time caller. I have a quick question, but before I get to that, I would like to point out that when you put Floki in the frunk, Tesla was over $300 a share. I don't know if it was related, but you might want to consider that to pump the stock again. On to my question. I've always been a Rabbit fan. There's a lot of people who are similar to me, probably a little more liberal, very passionate about our Teslas, proud of our Teslas. And, over the takeover of Twitter and some of these comments, I think some of us have been feeling a little bit disenfranchised. Still big fans, still shareholders, but some of the magic is missing a little bit there. For example, I have a daughter, or I have a daughter, and then also a trans child, and they both were always very excited about our Tesla. We went and bought a Model X, and now they have mixed feelings about it. It's just like, and it's not always directly related to what you say, but kind of some of the opinions or attention you draw to things like pronouns or something like that. And it's sad for me to watch that happen. And so I've tried to speak out about that. It doesn't really go anywhere, but I do worry also as a shareholder about, are we alienating certain people, not just extreme left people, but just kind of in the middle folks like myself that, it's just added in some politics and controversy that takes away a little bit of the shine off of our Tesla. Now, I did sell my Model 3, but it was mostly because I live in Alaska. We're missing some chargers. I'm going to throw in a plug for that. But, still a big fan. Like I said, still have our shares, still love driving our Teslas around. But I was just wondering if you've thought about that at all as you're, taking on this big Twitter job.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not going to like sort of suppress my views. So it's like, it's just to boost the stock price. Something like that's like not going to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's saying, though, Elon. I think when you own a media property, there's this perception of independence that's expected from the owner. And the Wall Street Journal is owned by Rupert Murdoch, but he doesn't write the opinion pieces, even though we know it's his opinion. And so I think, it sort of like throws people off that the owner has an opinion. Now, I don't think your opinions are extreme, but a lot of people in the media take what you say, and by the time the customers read it, it's not what you said at all. And, I just think there's this big perception gap being driven on beliefs that aren't even yours, really, because you're saying something, And I just think that part of it, it's almost like a trap it's like a lose-lose trap. And I hate seeing people get caught in that.
I mean, Elon, you don't hate trans people, do you? Or what
No,
are
of
your
course
views
not.
on that?
No, of course not. So I mean, I'm not in general a hater of anyone, frankly. So, but I think that there's, we the thing that like it does bother me that people will use like pronouns to be super judgmental, and actually to me it feels like a lot of these things are like just they're a shield that allow people to be assholes. They're like a moral shield that where it just gives them an excuse to be an asshole, and that's what that bothers me. So
Yeah, I get that. But I think what happens real easily in the media is it just appears that you're like punching down to a really marginalized group. Like my kid is just trying to have like their pronoun used in school and stuff, and it's like, then you have this really rich popular person like crapping on pronouns, but it gets mixed up, and it's like I think the people that you're talking about, like it gets mixed up, and then people just see it as a more broader thing that you're like, being negative towards trans people. But I
Okay,
do
so
have to ask really,
let's move on
Yeah,
to the
just really
yeah,
move
quick,
on
I
to
mean,
the next
are
yeah,
you
conversation.
yeah.
gonna
We got
are you
Gary
gonna
and
do
Chuck
the?
with hands up
We're
too.
gonna go to Gav first, who's his hand up, and then we'll go to
Yeah.
Gary.
I got just a simple question, Elon, because there's been a lot of this use of polls on Twitter. And as somebody, again, we're Twitter power users. We love that idea that we can have the opportunity to participate in major decisions that are going to affect us, right? Like my entire income comes from Twitter. With that being said, there's been a couple different ways around the polls. There's been thoughts, are the polls being used to root out bots? There's been polls that are, of course, you've abided by. There's been a tweet that polls would maybe just be available to Twitter Blue users. I'm kind of curious if there's any clarity you can give on, are these major decisions going to be made by polls? Can those polls be trusted? Do you have systems to get rid of potential botting? And then will those polls be available to everybody or just to Twitter Blue users?
I think that it's the subject of debate. The challenge with polls, I mean, maybe it could be open to Twitter verified or all. The challenge with all is that it's like ridiculously cheap to get to buy like a bot army. It's like less than a penny a bot. So you can like for not that much money you can have 10,000 or 100,000 bots all participate in a poll, and shift the direction of a poll. Now, the interest in shifting, like, it depends on how motivated is someone to use a bot army to shift a poll, and then often you'll see like basically what appear to be almost certainly warring bot armies, where two sides are both have bot armies, and they're trying to push a vote one way or the other. So, I think in order to have a vote that it does not have a lot of bots and trolls, I think you would have to restrict it to verified users. Otherwise, obviously, it's just too cheap to scam the system.
Elon, is there an easy way to kick out bots like intraday? Like a reCAPTCHA is a basic. I'm not an engineer by trade, but something like that, like intraday, kick everyone out, have them log back in, use a reCAPTCHA or something like that, and just push these bots off the platform over time.
Yeah, I mean, Bot is maybe not necessarily the right word, because there are bots like there's degrees. There's a purely automated situation, which where CAPTCHA would have some value, although you know really AI, like readily available AI, is getting to the point where it's it's certainly going to get to the point where it's better than humans at reading a CAPTCHA, not worse. Um, so. So like the value of a CAPTCHA is just diminishing over time. Then there's the situation where they're not actually bots; they're people. But like somebody's got like a warehouse somewhere, where there's like 10,000 phones. You've got like 100 people, or for argument's sake, 100 people each operating 100 phones. So that's not a bot, and they can all perform the CAPTCHA. So there's a whole bunch of that going on. In fact, you can see pictures of that on the internet. You just Google it. So there's not like some easy way to get around this. That's what I'm saying. It's really difficult. That's why I use bots and trolls. It's like bots are cheap, but trolls are also pretty cheap, like a troll farm. So I think really to have a high quality poll, you have to have some verification, and that verification has to, I think, increase the cost, the effective cost of having a bot or troll, by an order of magnitude or more. Like, so if it costs like let's say a penny for a troll vote, now if that's instead they're paying like $8 or $10, now you've increased the effective cost by 10,000, or sorry, by 1,000, I should say, roughly. So that makes it much harder to scam. Anyway, I got to get back to work here, guys. Speaking of work,
Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for your time,
Thank you, sir.
Elon.
Yeah, thanks, Elon. Really appreciate it. Really do.
yeah.
Thank you,
And
Elon. Thank
I
you.
guess my parting words were, it's like there's stormy weather ahead, but then it's going to be sunshine thereafter.
Elon,
Elon, when's
So,
V11 coming?
come on more of these Tesla spaces with
Yeah,
us.
that'd be
Tesla
great.
shareholders love hearing from you. They love hearing from you, and it's like really, I think, great for sentiment. So come on more of these spaces with us, and we'll make sure that we give you a good blend of hard questions and easy ones as well.
all right,
Elon,
sounds
when's
good.
V11 coming? What's your best guess?
Well, we had hopefully before the end of the year. I mean, we're on V11.2 with the limited beta, but so it's probably like, I don't know, 11.3. It's pretty soon. It's not like far away. It's measured in single digit, like sort of in the roughly.
Nice, that's exciting. Well,
Yeah,
the existing version's amazing. It's been driving me around with no takeovers most of the time.
Yeah. The thing about the V11 is there are a bunch of neural nets that are architecturally much better than 1069, but they like they've got much more room to improve. Like it's, we're just, autopilot has been going through like a series of local maximums, and so when you exit a local maximum, you first go down before you go up. And so the neural net architecture in V11 is actually much better, but it just takes time to hone the details. But it's like, I mean, it's rare for me to intervene at this point when I drive around. It's like, so it's surprising to like. The vast majority of trips that I take on autopilot are zero intervention. So it bodes well for the future.
Chuck, do you have anything to say before he goes?
Hey, Elon, thanks for making yourself available. I was just going to say, first of all, thank you for working on hard problems and hard problems such as the unprotected left turn. Do you think that many of the hard problems are going to need that much effort? Do you think it's going to generalize across, the space. I know V11 is a good example of that. I'm just curious if you think that they're going to have to put that much effort towards a lot of these corner cases, or if that was just a good example of how to put engineers to work to create a solution both in the simulator and in real life.
I mean, this will just be my last answer, but with every new architecture of every new neural net architecture is more generalized than the last time. So it actually ends up solving not just, say, extended unprotected lefts, but it ends up solving a whole bunch of things. So it's not like it's actually with each major rev, there's more and more generalization of solving what is effectively the real world AI problem. And Tesla is, as far as I can tell, overwhelmingly the best at real world AI. And our rate of progress is increasing. So, all right, with that, it's good talking to you guys, and look forward to talking again in the
Thank
future.
you so much for your time.
Thanks so
Elon.
much.
Cheers,
Big
man.
difference
Thank you,
here.
sir.